Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking through some player props I like over on Prizepicks for the Week 13 college football slate. We're going to break down 4 plays I like for the games on Saturday, and as always guys, we're going to talk through why I like these plays. Again, I got 4 picks, going to break them down. Now before we do get started guys, make sure you hit that like button down below. If you enjoy these Prizepicks videos, the college football videos, make sure to hit that subscribe button as well. And if you guys are new to the channel, and if you are new to Prizepicks, be sure to check them out, sign up, use promo code NOAH, and when you sign up for Prizepicks with my promo code and place your first lineup, you'll get $50 in promo funds instantly added to your account. So be sure to go check out Prizepicks if you guys have not yet. And also, do want to shout out Sleeper. We do have a partnership with Sleeper as well. You guys can sign up for Sleeper, use promo code NOAH over there, and when you make your first deposit, you'll get your first deposit matched up to $1,500. So for a limited time, Sleeper is taking larger deposits. Normally, their promo used to be they would only allow 100% deposit match up to $100. So if you put in $100, they give you an additional $100 to play with. Well, now they're taking deposits up to $1,500 and still matching those 100%. So you can put in $1,500 and get that matched, and Sleeper will give you an additional $1,500 to play with. And Sleeper does offer college football props. They offer a lot of the major sports like NBA, NFL, MLB, college football, college basketball. I think they have esports as well. So go check out Sleeper, guys. Make sure to sign up. Use promo code NOAH. And for a limited time, get your first deposit matched up to $1,500 over on Sleeper. But yeah, we got 4 plays to talk about for the Week 13 college football slate. Now, last week, guys, for Week 12, it was a bad week. We went 0-4 on the 4 picks we gave out last week. I got a lot of mean comments in the video, and I expect that. Anytime I give out plays and they lose, I expect people to leave mean comments, and it is what it is. It's part of the job. I've kind of just accepted it at this point. But I felt good about the plays last week. I felt like we had some good plays. I liked how we built out the slip with the correlation. Just happened to be the correlation went against us. We took 2 overs on guys that correlated, and they both went under, and that just kind of shows you that the correlation works. It just didn't work out that week. But we're going to run it back for this Week 13 slate, guys. Got another 4 pick I like. We're going to do a correlated stack, and then I have 2 separate plays I like that we'll talk about from some other games. So the first 2 picks I do like for Saturday are going to be a correlated stack. So we're going to take a look at the Ohio State and Indiana game. That's one of the big games this week. It's a top 10 matchup. We're going to take Will Howard for more than 244.5 pass yards, and we're going to pair him with his top receiver, Jeremiah Smith. We're going to take him for more than 75.5 receiving yards. So these 2 props directly correlate. If Will Howard throws for 245 yards, all the yards that Jeremiah Smith gets from receiving are going to come from Will Howard, unless Howard gets benched or he gets injured, which obviously we hope that doesn't happen. But if you look through their game logs this season, if you look and when Howard has gone over this this pass yards line, a lot of the games where Howard has gotten 245 pass yards, Jeremiah Smith has also gotten 76 receiving yards. So week 1, Howard had 228 pass yards against Akron in a blowout, and in that game, Jeremiah Smith had 92 yards. Next week, 292 for Howard, and then Jeremiah Smith 119 against Marshall, 275 for Jeremiah Smith, 70. So that was the 1 week where Howard went over 244.5 and Jeremiah Smith didn't go over 75.5. But every other game this season where Howard has had at least 245, he had 326 against Oregon. Jeremiah Smith had 100 yards. He had 260 against Purdue. Jeremiah Smith had 87 yards. Last week he had 247 against Northwestern. Jeremiah Smith had 100 yards. So I think if we get 245 from Howard, we can also get 76 from Jeremiah Smith. Jeremiah Smith, he's been a top target for Will Howard this season. Now, this Ohio State team, they do have a lot of guys that they can throw the ball to. They have Carnell Tate. They have Emeka Ibuka. They've got a lot of talented receivers. But Jeremiah Smith has still been the guy getting most of the volume, and you've been the guy that's, I'm pretty sure, has led the team in targets so far this season, leading the team in receiving yards as well. And I wanted to pull up his game log just to see the volume he's been getting lately. So like over their last few games, 7, 7, 7, 4, 13, 5, 6. He's still been getting good volume. Now, Jeremiah Smith is a big play receiver, so he definitely relies on big plays. But this does feel like a spot where he could see some volume as well, facing a pretty good Indiana team that I think is good enough to keep this game competitive. Ohio State, they have been involved in a lot of blowouts this season. They've been blowing out a lot of teams. But when they are involved in competitive games, like the game against Oregon, Will Howard had 35 pass attempts. their game against, let's see, like they really only been involved in like a few competitive games. The game against Nebraska was competitive. He only had 16 pass attempts, but that was a tough matchup. Nebraska's a good defense. The game against Penn State was competitive, but another tough matchup. Penn State, one of the best defenses in the country. This matchup against Indiana looks like a tough one on paper because Indiana has had a pretty good pass defense so far. They're only allowing 191 pass yards per game. But you have to look more into it and look at who Indiana has faced. So Indiana has faced Florida International, Western Illinois, UCLA, Charlotte, Maryland, Northwestern, Nebraska, Washington, Michigan State, and Michigan. I would say of those teams, like Maryland's the only really good team that has a good pass offense. Like a lot of those teams do not have good pass offense, especially like Michigan, Michigan State, Nebraska. Like they're not teams that rely on moving the ball through the air. So now they're going to have to face by far the best team they've played all season, by far the best offense they've played on all season. I feel like the books are kind of, overreacting a little bit to this matchup. I think this is actually like not a bad matchup for the Ohio State guys. And normally Will Howard's pass yards line is like set in the 260, 270 range. But because they're facing Indiana, a top 10 team, obviously they've lowered the lines a little bit. But again, I don't know if this Indiana defense, their pass defense, is as good as it looks on paper because they've had a pretty soft schedule. I mean, they haven't faced a lot of good pass defenses. They face some good teams, but they haven't faced teams that are good moving the ball through the air, which obviously Ohio State is good at. So I do like this as our first two picks for Saturday. We're going to do a correlated stack of Will Howard, more than 244.5 pass yards, pair him with Jeremiah Smith, more than 75.5 receiving yards. And the Will Howard line, I was looking at FanDuel. FanDuel actually has his line set at like 251, I believe. So we're actually getting a little bit of value on this Prizepicks line at 244. I wouldn't be surprised if you see this line move up a little bit because some other sportsbooks have his line higher. Now, the next two props I like are both going to be fantasy scores. So we're going to take a look at Cam Ward, 29.5 fantasy score. And I like the over here, more than 29.5 fantasy score for Cam Ward. I know it's a really high line, but it's warranted for Cam Ward. Cam Ward has been, the best QB in college football this season. He's one of the league, one of the front runners for Heisman. He's, trying to win the Heisman this year. And I think, this is just a feeling, but I literally think Miami is purposely trying to get Cam Ward touchdowns. They're trying to get him big stats, just like Travis Hunter and just like Ashton Jeanty. Like a lot of these guys, I mean, they're great players, don't get me wrong, but I think teams do try to get these guys the ball a little bit more. And Cam Ward, obviously, he's the focal point of this Miami offense. Everything runs through him. And you can just look at his lines this week and see that the sportsbooks are projecting some big numbers for Cam Ward. He's got a 350.5 pass yards line. He's got a 3.5 passing touchdowns line. He's favored. So this is a goblin on Prizepicks for a reason because he's favored to go over 2.5 passing touchdowns. If Cam Ward throws for 350 yards and 3 touchdowns, I believe that would put him at, 26 fantasy score. Just doing the math in my head. Obviously, that's under this line. But then you got to factor in rushing upside. So Cam Ward is someone that does have rushing ability. He can run. I want to say he's had multiple games this season with like 40, 50 rushing yards. I'm going to pull up his game log just to confirm that. And I know he's had some games where he's had rushing touchdowns as well. So he's run for 182 yards this season. He has 3 rushing touchdowns. He had 57 rush yards against Virginia Tech, 43 against USF, 29 against Louisville. So he is mobile. He's a guy that will, obviously if he has a big game, it's mostly going to come from through the air, but he can still give you fantasy points with his legs. And this matchup against Wake Forest is probably one of the best matchups possible. Wake Forest's pass defense has been one of the worst in the country. I mean, this is a team you can easily beat through the air. So far this season, if we look at passing yards per game allowed, Wake Forest, they're allowing 296 pass yards per game, which is third most in the country. Only Tulsa and UTSA has allowed more pass yards per game than Wake Forest. So this is a spot where Miami's offense should have no problem moving the ball through the air. I think Miami has like a 45 team total. So Vegas is expecting Miami to score like 6 touchdowns here. And if Miami scores 6 touchdowns, if they get near their team total, very good chance that Cam Ward's going to account for at least 3, maybe 4, maybe all 6 of those touchdowns. You never really know. But just given the matchup here, given the high total in this game, this is a spot where I expect Cam Ward to put up some big numbers. I think 300 plus yards, multiple touchdowns is very likely for him. And obviously, if Wake Forest can put up some points as well, if they can keep this game competitive and make Miami have to keep their foot on the gas pedal. I mean, this is a spot where Cam Ward could throw for like 400 plus yards and 4 or 5 touchdowns. And I think Wake Forest's offense is good enough to where they don't just come out here and get absolutely blown out. But even in scenarios where Miami gets a big lead, Miami has still shown that they will continue to throw the ball and continue to get Cam Ward stats even if they have a big lead. So I feel really good about this fantasy score line on Cam Ward. Honestly, I think this line should be like over 30. I think this line should probably be like 31 or 32.5. I think 29.5, especially for this matchup against Wake Forest. This line of 29.5 definitely looks low. And if you look at Cam Ward so far this season, he's gone over this fantasy score line, and I believe all but 2 games. One of the games he went under was against FSU. He didn't have any touchdowns in that game, so that was a really weird kind of game script. Very unlikely for Cam Ward to not have any touchdowns with how much he accounts for this Miami offense. And then their game last week against Georgia Tech, he did go under against Georgia Tech, but again, he still threw for 348 yards and 3 touchdowns. Just didn't really have much rushing. Obviously touchdowns, you're probably going to need 3 or 4, but this is a spot where Miami should have no problem scoring 3, 4, 5 touchdowns through the air. So I know it's a high line, 29.5. Obviously, Cam Ward's going to have to put up some big numbers to go over this line. But in this matchup, this feels like a spot where he should be able to probably throw for close to 350, closer to 400 yards, and get easily 2 or 3, if not multiple, 4 or 5 touchdowns. So give me Cam Ward, more than 29.5 fantasy score as our third play. And then the other play that I like, we're going to bet on another guy that's going for the Heisman right now, Ashton Jeanty. And I like Ashton Jeanty for more than 31.5 fantasy score. So it's another super high line, but it's warranted because Ashton Jeanty has been the best running back in the country. He's been one of the best players in the country. And you can look, he's still gone over this fantasy score line in 4 out of his last 5 games. So overall, for the season, Ashton Jeanty has gone over this line in 8 out of 10 games. He went under against, I believe, against Portland State. I don't know much about Portland State, but he went under against Portland State. He only played 28 snaps in that game. It was a massive blowout. They won that game like 56-14, I believe. Let's see. Yeah, 56-14. He only played 28 snaps. They didn't really have to give him much of a workload there. And then he did go under against UNLV. I'm pretty sure he did get a full workload that game. He did play 68 snaps, so he got a full workload. Just didn't, get as many touchdowns. He ran for 128 yards, but only had 1 touchdown. This season, though, Ashton Jeanty has had at least 2 touchdowns in 7 out of their 10 games. And I was looking at sportsbook odds for his touchdowns. So on FanDuel, he's minus 3,000 to score a touchdown. Yes, minus 3,000. If you want to win $100 on Ashton Jeanty to score a touchdown, you would have to bet $3,000. That's how likely it is for him to score a touchdown. Now, obviously, he's not absolutely guaranteed to score a touchdown, but minus 3,000 on FanDuel. He's got pretty good odds to score at least 1 touchdown. He's minus 400, I think, or minus 450 to score 2 touchdowns. And he's actually favored. He was like minus 145 to score 3 touchdowns. So his touchdown odds are so high just because anytime Boise State gets near the red zone in the goal line, they just feed the ball to Ashton Jeanty. And Ashton Jeanty has been one of the most efficient running backs this season. He's averaging over 7 yards per carry. He breaks off long runs all the time. So, you can look at his rush yards prop. I mean, he's got 192.5 rush yards prop. He does have a 12.5 receiving yards prop. That's the one knock against Ashton Jeanty. And definitely when you talk about Prizepicks fantasy score, because it is full PPR, you do want running backs that can catch passes. And Jeanty this season, not been getting a ton of usage in the passing game. I mean, the most receptions he has in a game this season is 3. Would definitely like to see him getting more usage in the passing game, but he just does so much on the ground to make up for it. He's going to probably run for 150 yards, if not more. He's probably going to score at least 1, maybe 2 touchdowns. He's projected for about 200 yards total. Again, like I said earlier, he's like minus 400 to score 2 touchdowns. If Jeanty gets 200 total yards and he gets 2 touchdowns, that's going to put him at 32 fantasy score. So I think 31.5 fantasy score, definitely a little bit of a low line here on GT. And I know that's crazy to say that a 31.5 fantasy score line is a low line on a running back. But GT's over this line in 8 out of 10 games this season. He's been the best running back in the country, continues to just put up huge games every single week. And it's a great matchup here against Wyoming. Wyoming's rush defense has been terrible this season. They're giving up over 209 rush yards per game, which is towards the bottom of the country. This is a spot where GT should have no success, or should have no problem, having success on the ground against Wyoming. I think the real concern, can Wyoming, put up enough points to like make this game somewhat competitive so that GT doesn't get subbed out early because it's like a blowout or something. But I think they're playing this game in Wyoming, so Wyoming's playing at home. I think that makes it a little bit more likely this game is competitive. Right now, the spread is sitting at 23. Boise State's favored by 23. But like Boise State, they're fighting to make the playoffs, so I think they really want to win these games. And obviously, GT is fighting to try and win the Heisman, so he wants to put up big numbers as well. As long as Boise State keeps it within a couple touchdowns, 2 or 3, GT should be out there for the full game. I think the only way that GT gets subbed out early for a blowout is if they're winning by like 35 plus. And if Boise State's winning by 35 plus, that probably means that GT has already put up some huge, huge numbers. So like this play, more than 31.5 fantasy score for Ashton GT. So this is what we're going to roll with, guys, as our 4 props for the college football slate on Saturday. We're going to do a correlated stack of Will Howard over 244.5 pass yards and pair that with Jeremiah Smith over 75.5 receiving yards. Then we're going to take Cam Ward for more than 29.5 fantasy score and Ashton GT for more than 31.5 fantasy score. These props, again, or these 2 props at the top here are correlated, and we're still getting a 10x payout even though we have 2 picks that are correlated together. If you were to add another pick to this, like I think the payout would drop. So doing a 4-pick power entry or 4-pick power lineup still gives us a 10x payout, which is what I like to do here. So we're going for a 4 out of 4. Obviously, you could mix and match these plays if you wanted to, but I like to just play for the correlation here, take the 2-pick correlated stack, find 2 other plays I like, which are Ward and GT, and then run them as a 4-pick and hopefully go 4 for 4 and win 10x. So let's see if we can get back on track here for this college football slate on Saturday, guys. I know it was a bad week last week. Gave out 4 picks last week, went 0-4. Shit happens. It's part of the game. I've gone 0-3, 0-4 plenty. I've been doing this for like 4 or 5 years now, so I've gone 0-4 plenty. It's gonna happen. It is what it is. But you just got to move on, get ready for the next slate, and we got 4 plays to get us back on track for this week 13 Saturday slate, guys. So appreciate you watching as always. Make sure you guys hit that like button down below if you enjoyed. Hit that subscribe button as well. Also, if you guys are new to the channel and new to Prizepicks, go check out Prizepicks. Use promo code NOAH when you sign up. And again, when you place your first lineup, you'll get $50 in promo funds instantly added to your account. Go check out Prizepicks if you guys have not yet. But good luck tonight. Thanks for watching. And we'll see you guys, or good luck on Saturday, I should say. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next video.